G'day folks, and welcome back. Glad to have you with me and with us again. A great song creates itself. Now, I've written, recorded and released a lot of songs in my time, and the majority of them, they did almost write themselves. And what I mean by that is I got out the way and I allowed the song to come through. So I'm going to do a 4-part series to show you how you can apply the same techniques that I apply to allowing the music to show itself and express itself, and how you can use that as a great tool to create your own great compositions and your own great songs. Now, I'm currently working on creating and writing another song, so I'm going to take you through the process I'm using to create that song. So let's get straight into it. The very first part of the song we're looking at is the rhythm. You know, we need to lay down that foundation for everything else to come through. Now, I'm going to say this. A good song is not a forced song. If you go into creating a song with a preconceived idea of how it's going to be, you're going to run the risk of limiting the potential of that song. So when you go in, just check with yourself before you walk into the studio, before you start writing your song. Are you trying to force something that that's you're struggling with, or are you actually inspired and just want to get in there and allow something to come through? Inspiration, by all means, that's how I write 90% of my stuff. Is I'm inspired and I just go in and we see what happens on the guitar. So here we go. I'm going to give you a demonstration of that and the song that I'm working on at the moment. So I literally came into my studio, I picked up my guitar, and this is what I do quite often. I have no idea of what's going to happen, so I just start. So I sat down and I just started doing that. That was the rhythm that wanted to come through, okay? So I'm like, well, that's pretty cool. Like, you know, a lot of things dropped into my head. That sounds like this, that sounds like that. Now, don't follow those trains of thought too much, because you could end up manipulating and then forcing the song. You stick with this thing where now I've got this. Allow the little things like that to come through, but don't rush into chord changes, sequences, solos. Just try and stick with this one rhythm, okay? Now, important point number 2. The chord you grab when you first go in is going to direct the style and sound of your composition. And an example of that would be this. Instead of me grabbing that E fifth or the E, if I grabbed a D, now, straight away I want to go. Now, not that that's a bad thing, but you can see how now I've sort of gone into working into chord changes without even being consciously aware of it, because all of those things come back to I've grabbed a D chord. Now a D chord is more of a melody. It's not potentially rhythm driven. So it's not that you shouldn't do that, but just be aware that when you grab a chord like a D or a G or a C and you sort of start strumming in those patterns, you're going to sort of be pulled in a direction that you might unconsciously already know or be repeating. So I'm going to stick with this example of just having that. Now, what happened then for me was I went, oh, I like that. I've got that. When I'm playing, I get into this. my foot's tapping, right? I've got my beats per minute, right? Now, I went into an old drum loop I had. I put that tempo into that drum loop, and then the drumming came out. So now I've got my drum track, just a scratch track, but a very basic drum track, and I start to... Now, with that drum track, there was a little bit going on with some offbeats. So then I start to pick up in my ear those little offbeats. So then the song started to develop into more of a... Now I'm going into, okay, I've developed that basic rhythm into more of an offbeat sort of, it's not a solid driving rhythm. It's actually almost like now there could be more parts, guitar rhythm parts in there. But you see what I'm getting at is here, none of this was preconceived. None of this I thought, oh no, it's not going to be like that. It has to be like this. So the takeaway from this short session is this. Go in to your studio. If you're inspired, if you feel like, I want to create a great song, don't go in with a preconceived idea. Go in cold or go in raw and just sit, get your foundation, get that foot tapping. We always need to do that. Now, when you've got something there, if you have the luxury of creating a drum loop, don't get taken, because don't fall into this danger. You go in to create your drum loop and all of a sudden you're 3 hours on the computer manipulating the song through your drum track. So if you haven't got a drum loop or you don't want to put down a drum loop, just record that on your phone. Because what you're then going to do is, now you've got your foundation, you don't have to be always sitting with the guitar to keep developing the song. What you can do is go and listen, and then your imagination, and you're still feeling the song is still developing, but not necessarily in the studio. But once you've got that foundation, once you're happy with your rhythm, just sit with that. The next session we're going to do will be developing that into either two ways. Is it going to go into more chords and have chord changes? Or is it going to be a very one chord, like that juke joint stuff I was doing in previous videos? Are we just going to have it as a simple rhythm and then our solo and our phrasing becomes the hook? Or is it going to open into... It might do both. But right now, your job, your homework, and what you need to do is learn how to develop rhythms without preconceived ideas. Allow the feel to come through in your music and in the song. And just enjoy being simplistic, and enjoy the fact that it might take a week, a month, 2 months to develop a song. But if you're enjoying it, and if it's the music coming through you, which you will enjoy, and if it's inspirational, then a great song is going to come. So stick with it, let the song come through. I'll see you next session.